Hey there friends, Dave Paulides here for Season 5, Episode 7 review of Skinwalker Ranch. Thanks for being here, and we're going to talk about everything that happened at the ranch. But before I get into that, on this show, I want to remind everybody, the conference of a lifetime, and that is called Phenomicon. Phenomicon. It's in Vernal, Utah, September 4th through the 7th. Why am I saying that? Well, it's a Skinwalker Ranch review session, right? And I'll be there at Phenomicon, along with everybody from Skinwalker Ranch. How bizarre is that they invited me? I'm a nobody in this world. I'm humbled that I was asked. I've got to step up my game. They actually asked me to do 2 presentations for this conference, one Friday and one Saturday. One of the days I'm going on right after Eric Bard. Another day I'm going on right before Travis. Holy cow. Yeah, a little bit of pressure on Dave. But I promise I'll do my best. I will be there on Friday and Saturday. The conference goes Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I can only be there for 2 days. But I will be there, and I'm stoked. Just Google Phenomicon, Vernal, Utah, and you'll come up with the site, and I hope to see you there. So, where's Dave been? I was late for this, and I apologize for that, but I was actually out of town, and this is what I was doing. When the fish start biting, Dave has to get out. That is a beautiful, beautiful German brown that I caught up here in northwest Montana on one of the rivers. They start biting, you gotta go. And I knew the weather was about right. I headed off. Angie and I spent a couple days fishing. It was great. So I'm back, fired up, and away we go. So, Season 5, Episode 7, segment starts off with Travis talking about the last rocket launch through the Triangle Zone. And when they shot that, they were trying to shoot it through this anomaly in the triangle, and it veered off. And it should have went straight, like most rockets should. They had a meeting, and they said they wanted to probe the anomaly above the triangle. And they did a slow walk through all their data, and they were trying to find something that maybe they had missed in the past. And the best they could say is that the area in the Mesa that they had filmed in the past almost looked like something crashed and it was a debris field. And the predominant portion of that debris field is this broken up, tubular shaped area with scattered pieces of debris around the outside. Well, one of the guys found a drilling team that could drill with many more pounds of pressure than the previous drill team, almost double. And so they were going to bring them out and they want to drill into that Mesa area. And they were going to call it horizontal drilling. They thought that in that Mesa area, there's something that's donut shaped versus above the triangle, which is strangeness. So in the area of the Mesa, they want to go up each side of this debris field thing. And they don't want to touch it. They want to go up alongside of it so that they can do x-rays through it and see what it looks like. They don't want to destroy it. They don't want to penetrate it. And they said that the first pilot hole would be 6 inches in diameter and that they could go up in 4-inch increments. And they wanted to reach 18 inches. And Travis said that they don't want the pipe that they're drilling to be conductive because of all the testing that they're going to do. First of 2 holes, one on each side. So they're going to kind of parallel this thing into the mesa. The drill head that they're using actually has a beacon on it that transmits the location, the temperature, and the angle that it's drilling at. And the frequency that it was transmitting on was 3.1 on the spectrum analyzer. Just as the drilling starts, they start to get a weird transmission out of the mesa that they're drilling into. It wasn't long when this drill goes in and it hits something. And it starts, instead of the drilling in consistently at a depth, it hits something and it's pushing the drill upwards away from it. And the pressure that this drill exerted was twice as much as it did in previous episodes. This was a whole new company. The drill company said it was climbing too hard, so they stopped drilling. And it had about 14,000 pounds of pressure placed by the drill head. But the issue that they had was that the drill head was only, let's just say, 20 feet inside the mesa. But the anomaly was 100 feet in, so they shouldn't have hit the anomaly that caused it to go upwards. They knew they were in the right location because of LiDAR, etc. So they couldn't figure out what they were hitting that pushed them off. So they pull out, and drill heads always have to be lubricated, so they shoot water into the head to keep it cool. Well, when they do that, shards come off of rocks and metal, whatever they hit, and that goes into a big truck. They took that truck and they backed it into a pit and they dropped the water over a screen. And what they were looking for is anything unusual that they might have hit that came down. And about the size of a half of a pencil eraser, one of the guys found something unusual, and Travis thought it was unusual enough to put it in an evidence bag and to have it tested. And that was about the entire segment on the drill. They didn't come up with anything new. The drill head couldn't penetrate whatever it was that's in the mesa. And they stated that they didn't want to dig into the mesa because they don't want to destroy what's there. They want to study it. They believe I think they believe it's there for a reason. And even though they call it a debris field, I don't think they really believe it is debris of something because of what goes on around it. So all these chips, they found one little tiny piece. That was it. That was kind of the end of this segment. Not very interesting. Angie sat there and said, oh, that was boring. I think when you pay for a company to come out and drill and set up and do everything that happened, you better use that because that's a lot of operational funds. And especially a lot of operational time. So I think they had to use it. Now they bring in what was called a laser space cannon company. They've had a lot of GPS errors in and around the triangle. In 2022, they found an anomaly in the sky, if you remember, kind of in the center of the triangle. And this was an interesting idea they had, I thought. And there's devices, and I've used one handheld device that would shoot a laser maybe 2 or 3 inches in diameter into the sky, and you could see it for miles. And they had these 7 laser devices in a circle, maybe 10 feet in diameter, sitting on the ground. The lasers are aimed to go into the air, and it looked like maybe 100 feet up, they crisscross. So a circle going up of green and blue lasers. They set it up. And they want to see if anything interrupts the lasers. That was a big part of it. And then one of the more interesting ideas is 31 feet up. They have this giant white screen. It's kind of shaped like a TV. All it is a white, could be a white piece of plywood. I don't know what it was made of. And they were going to put that up in the middle of where the anomaly is normally seen. And then they're going to shoot a laser right into the middle of that to see what happens. Now, all around this show of lasers, they have cameras that are taking several photos with open frames, 2 to 3 seconds, to see what they can pick up. And they've got them mounted all the way around. They didn't say how many cameras they had, but they just said they had several. Now, they said something on the show that I've never heard before, is that they had several antennas set up around the ranch. Never heard that before. Antennas for what? Well, we're going to find out in a second. So, that's Huck saying hello, by the way. Just after launching a rocket in this area, like they've done dozens of other times, they launched the rocket right next to the lasers. Rocket is supposed to go parallel with the lasers straight up. It goes up, it veers, and it makes a figure S and eventually crashes. Travis says rockets aren't supposed to do that. It's as though something pushed the rocket away from something, brought it back, pushed it away, and then left. They were a bit befuddled by what they saw. Proved something was there in their minds. At 8:45, just before this testing all started, Travis is walking, apparently with a cameraman, with some other guys around him, and all of a sudden he says, "Hey, what's that?" Cameraman jerks up, and in the sky you've seen this green glowing item moving along. It's pretty bright, and it looked fairly large. Didn't have any flashing lights on it, so it's not an aircraft. They didn't know what it was, but Travis said that it's bigger and brighter than what they've ever seen in the past at the ranch. And I think that's interesting that it happens just before this testing starts. As I've stated before, under Bigelow's realm, they stated that it's almost as though the entity knows what's happening before it happens. So I do believe that this entity knows what was about to take place. And I don't know what the UAP UFO was doing there, but it was right before it started, all this testing. So 7 lasers in a circle, one at a whiteboard, that's the 8th laser, 31 feet high. And Travis is watching the spectrometer to see if there's any transmissions in the area. So 31 feet up, they pick up these lasers changing from blue to green. They said that's not normal. They're not sure how it was happening, but it wasn't normal. And then near the second homestead, Eric is in the command center inside the building. He's not out in the field with the rest of the guys. And they pick up a transmission at 1.6 gigahertz near the second homestead. And they said they picked that up on an antenna that they have posted around the ranch. This is what I've said before, and I'm not upset about it. These guys have so many instruments up that we don't even know about, that during the course of other investigations, it's going to drop. They're going to talk about it. I get it, man. Why talk about technology that isn't adding to the show? So I get it. They definitely did this time. So then they launch a LiDAR thermal drone. I've been around many drones in my life filming. And this drone is one of the coolest because it gives you a perspective at night that it's like daytime. Because you're looking through like a FLIR device. And the images it was giving was pretty neat. So the rocket launches, gets diverted. Travis doesn't know how. And it gets redirected. And then at that same time, the guy operating the thermal drone says, "Hey guys, I just found something unusual on my drone. I was just scanning the area coming back. And there's a rock out on the Mesa. I think it's a big rock that's glowing on the thermal drone." And the guy says this, and I think this is the same location where the UAP came out of the ground when the helicopter was flying over the area in previous episodes. Travis tells Thomas, "Let's get in the Jeep and let's go look at that right now." So they're going over there, they're talking on the radio, and they're having the guy on the LiDAR who's watching the area with these two guys walking out on feet. And he says, "Hey, direct me in." So he's directing him in, and they get to this rock. I would say the rock was like 10, 12 feet tall, maybe 15 feet wide. I couldn't tell how thick it was. But it was a big rock. Big rock. And I'm sorry it wasn't Thomas. It was Dragon that went out with Travis. They touched the rock, whatever. And they drive over, touch the rock, look at it. Travis says there's no geological reason that it should be hotter than any other of the large rocks in the area. I think they made a mistake. Who is Dave to say that one of the greatest physicists on TV made a mistake? I'm sorry. Sometimes it helps to have someone who has studied UFOs for a decade or more, 2 decades. There's hundreds of stories about UFOs and UAPs that fly into rocks, fly into granite, fly into a mountain. I don't know if these guys knew that, but let's pretend for a second. When that helicopter was flying over several episodes ago, and they see this UFO fly out of the Mesa and away. They saw it enter the Mesa, and then, I don't know, half a mile later, it comes out of the Mesa. Here's my question. What if it flew out of that rock? What if the reason that rock was glowing and was warmer than any other rock in the area is because there was energy inside the rock? Now, don't try to use your rational brain to say, well, it's a solid rock, Dave. Don't try to think like that. It'll drive you crazy. These UFOs, UAPs have the ability to change form, shape, density, like we don't understand. So their ability to fly into solid rock, we don't understand that. We don't understand how it can live inside there as well. But somehow they do. Now, if that rock is warmer than every other rock in that area, and it was, per the drone FLIR, there's a reason. There's only one reason. That's energy. Why? Tell me another reason other than what I just said. So they launch another rocket. Drone up, lasers on. This time the rocket, again, is veered off away from its path up through the entity in the triangle. They don't have an explanation. They pull back. They come back a day or two later after they've reviewed the data. The idea was to probe the anomaly in the triangle and secure new data. Cameras took shots every few seconds, and several of the cameras were pointed towards the laser beams in the sky. And they made a big deal about this. The cameras picked up something that when you look at it from the camera perspective, you see about 4 lasers going into the sky, and then you don't see the back 3 because they're in a circle and the camera's on one side. You see 2 lasers that have gaps in them, like at a distance, who knows, maybe 10 feet, 15 feet of distance. It's just blackness. Laser hits this blackness, comes out here. And then this blackness goes in partially to the next laser. But along this side, you could see partial laser, and then the full laser comes out the top and the bottom. And these guys said, I want you to understand something. Sometimes I don't feel comfortable even saying anything that may be in conflict to what these guys say, because I think they're brilliant people. But I said to Angie after the segment, I said, hey, because they kept saying, well, what could make the laser stop and start? And I said to Angie at the end of that segment, does this sound stupid, but what if there's something between the camera and the laser that blacks out that part of the sky, and it has nothing to do with inhibiting the lasers? She goes, that makes sense to me. Made sense to me. So what if something was there? Again, it just comes up black in the camera, but it never touched the lasers. To me, that makes a whole lot more sense than something interacting and blocking the lasers. It's just me. I'm probably an idiot to say it, but I had to say it. Now, these cameras took shots every few seconds, and the first shot was what I just said. Second shot was higher up. Again, showed the laser, like this black area where the laser stopped and then started higher up with just blackness in the middle. Couldn't see anything else. Third shot shows a green beam fully interrupted, second beam partially interrupted at a height of about 100 feet. And what was unusual is they have green, blue lasers. Only the green lasers were interrupted. It might have something to do with the camera, maybe filters, not sure. It might have something to do with the angle of the picture. They never explained where these cameras were located in relationship to the circle of lasers. At the end, Travis said that the keys to what's happening at the ranch is what's happening at the triangle of the Mesa. I think he's right. But I think there's a lot more to it. They focused intensely on what's happening above the triangle. Bigelow focused intensely on what was happening on the ground and had cameras all over the ground out there and picked up tons of anomalies. Now, maybe, possibly, this team does have those cameras on the ground and they're not talking about them. Maybe. They still haven't talked about what they recovered out of that creek, animal-wise. And I'm going to tell you for sure, it is very hard to carry on a show like this for 1 hour. A 1 hour show may take a week's worth of content or more to fill it so that it's interesting all the way through. Now, that beginning segment was a little slow, the drill, but I think they had to use it. They don't want to dig into the mesa. That's pretty obvious. They've said that. They don't want to destroy what's there. So we've talked a lot in the past about, hey, why not just take the mountain apart? I think they're afraid of doing that because it may interrupt what they're trying to study. And then above the triangle, I would hope that they have cameras above that triangle 24/7, 7 days a week. Hopefully at night. Now, if you remember last year, I made a statement that some of you said it was brilliant, some of you said it was stupid. So here's my thoughts on what's going on above the triangle. I'm not sure what it is, but if anyone has ever had a pool, you might know what diatomaceous earth is. And it's ground up shells and things, and it's white powder. And I had a pool my whole life, and I had to clean it, so I used diatomaceous earth. After we backwashed the filter system, it lined the filters inside the system with diatomaceous earth to protect them and collect the dirt. What if you took a balloon and you went up to 400 feet above the triangle? And from that balloon, you dropped bags and bags and bags of diatomaceous earth right on top of this entity. Would it stick? Diatomaceous earth, if I held it in my hand, I could blow it. It would just blow everywhere. It's very, very light. Would it stick and would it outline the entity? It's a very inexpensive experiment. And again, I'm probably an idiot to say it, but I thought, why not try it? And at the same time, set up cameras at all different angles and see what you pick up. Does the entity move? Well, I think that the interruption in those lasers proves there's something there. What it is, I don't know. And there wasn't enough definition to be seen other than that interruption of the lasers to tell you what it is. It's very stealthy, but I think the diatomaceous earth and the balloon would be fun. Anyhow, thanks for being here. Thanks for the guys at Skinwalker Ranch. I appreciate what you guys are doing, and it's interesting, and I hope to see you at Phenomicon, Vernal, Utah. I'll be there with all the Skinwalker guys. Wow. Be safe. Be kind. Paulides out.